Rian Hale walked across the broken land of Nerith with slow, heavy steps. The sun above him was not like the sun of Earth. It was red, tired, and angry. Every time it shone, the land cracked more. The wind carried dust that tasted bitter. Even the mountains looked thirsty. Nothing on this planet lived easily. Nothing survived for long. Rian came to search for lost water pockets, small lakes trapped deep under rock. He was a human explorer, trained to walk in danger and stay calm when everything around him felt hopeless. But on that day, something happened that shook even him. He stopped dead at first. He thought his eyes were tricking him because of the heat. Mirage maybe. A wave of light in the sand. But no. The shape did not move like a wave. It was small. Very small. It was a child. A tiny alien girl sat on her knees, near a cracked stone, with her back curved like she had carried too much pain. Her hair was long but dirty, almost white from dust. Her thin arms were trembling. Her face was hollow. Tired, lost, Rian watched in silence as she scooped something from the ground with shaking hands. She brought it to her mouth. He blinked hard once. Twice. It was mud. She was eating mud. Rian felt a sharp pain in his chest, a very human pain. Something inside him whispered, "This is wrong. This is very wrong. No child should eat dirt to survive. Not on Earth, not on Nerith, not anywhere." He took a slow step forward. The girl did not run. She did not look scared. She only stared at him with wide silver eyes that held no light. Her lips were cracked. Her cheeks were dry. She looked like she had cried all her tears long ago. Then she opened her mouth to speak. But no sound came out. Only silence. Her mouth moved again, still nothing. She touched her throat lightly, almost weakly, as if she wanted to explain something, but no words existed. Rian knelt down, trying to make himself small, not frightening. "Hey." "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here to help." The girl looked at him with so much sadness in her eyes that he felt his stomach twist. She raised her small hand and traced shapes in the air. They were signs, symbols, meaningful movements. It took Rian a moment to understand. She had no voice, and she was not born without it. She had lost it. Rian felt the wind change around them. It became cold, sharp, almost warning him. He stood up slowly and looked around. People watched from far away. Villagers. They hid behind a fallen wall and broken structures. Their eyes were filled with fear. They did not come closer. When Rian walked toward them with the girl behind him, the villagers stepped back quickly. One of them, an older man with a tired face, raised both hands as if telling Rian to stop. "What happened to her?" Rian asked. The villagers exchanged looks. They did not want to speak. One woman finally whispered, "Her mother traded her voice." Traded? For what? For water. The words felt like a stone hitting Rian's heart. A mother selling her own voice? That kind of thing did not happen unless the world was truly cruel. Where is the mother now? Rian asked. This time the villagers pointed toward the dark mountains in the distance. She went to the voice traders. The old man said. She never returned. The girl tugged on Rian's sleeve gently. Her silver eyes were begging him not to leave her. Her fingers traced a symbol in the sand, 2 circles connected. Rian guessed it meant mother. The wind pushed dust across her face. She did not wipe it away. She looked too tired even for that. Rian reached out and cleaned her cheeks gently. She did not move. She trusted him instantly, like she had no strength left to hide her fear. Rian lifted the girl in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. As he held her, she placed her small hand on his chest, right above his heartbeat. Her touch was weak but full of silent meaning. She needed help. She needed someone to fight for her. She needed someone to find her mother before it was too late. Rian took a deep breath. He did not know what kind of danger waited in those mountains. He did not know who the voice traders were or why they wanted voices. But he knew one thing clearly. He could not leave this child alone. So he turned toward the mountains. His jaw tight, his steps strong. The universe had thrown him into a cruel story. But he had already decided his part in it. He would save this child. And he would bring her mother home. Ryan walked slowly through the dry valley with the small alien child in his arms. Her thin hands held tightly to his jacket, as if she feared he might disappear if she let go. He could feel her heartbeat soft, fast, scared. She weighed almost nothing, like hunger had carved away half her life already. The girl did not speak. She could not. But her eyes said many things. Ryan stopped under a broken shelter made of stones and placed her gently on a flat rock. She sat quietly, watching him with those silent silver eyes. The wind pushed dust around them, but she didn't react. It seemed she was used to storms, hunger, and fear. "What's your name?" Ryan asked softly. She blinked, looked down, and touched the ground with one finger. Slowly, she drew a symbol in the sand, a simple swirl with two small dots. Ryan did not understand at first. Then she tapped her chest gently. "That's your name?" he asked. She nodded. The symbol repeated in the sand. "Lyra," Ryan whispered. "Your name is Lyra." The girl looked up, and for the first time, a tiny spark of light returned to her eyes. She nodded again, slow, tired, but sure. Ryan smiled softly. "Lyra, I'll help you. You're safe now." Lyra's small shoulders relaxed a little, but her eyes still carried something heavy, something she wanted to show, something she wanted him to know. She pointed at the sand again. Then she drew a small stick figure herself. Next to it, she drew a taller figure, a woman with long lines of hair. Ryan understood. "Your mother?" Lyra nodded again. Then she drew a circle that looked like a sun, but instead of rays, she drew cracks through it. She touched her throat and shook her head. "Your mother lost her voice?" Ryan asked, trying to be gentle. Lyra shook her head again and traced a line between the tall figure and the cracked sun. "She traded it," Ryan whispered. "She traded her voice." The girl's hand froze for a moment, then she wiped the drawing away quickly, as if the memory hurt her. Ryan's heart tightened. Whatever her mother went through must have been horrible. A mother trading her voice for water. No one did such a thing unless they were desperate. Lyra reached behind her and pulled out a tiny object hidden under her clothes. It was a broken piece of crystal, small enough to fit in her hand. She held it up to Ryan. It glowed faintly, very faintly, like a voice trapped inside, but too weak to speak. Lyra pressed the crystal to her ear. Nothing happened, but her eyes filled with tears. She ran her finger along the edge and then pressed it into Ryan's palm. "You want me to see this?" he said gently. Lyra nodded. The crystal felt warm. Not warm like fire. Warm like memory. Inside it, he could feel a tremble, almost like a whisper trying to escape. "This belonged to your mother," Ryan said softly. Lyra's lips trembled. She touched her throat again, then touched the crystal, then pressed her hand to her heart. She gave her voice to keep you alive, Ryan realized. Lyra looked down, ashamed, as if she believed she was a burden. Ryan knelt in front of her. "Listen, your mother did something brave, not foolish. She loved you. She gave everything she had for you." A tear finally escaped Lyra's right eye. She didn't wipe it. She just let it fall. Then she stood up and walked to a tall rock. She placed her hand against it and tapped twice. Ryan watched carefully. She tapped again, 3 times this time, then drew a straight line with her finger down the rock. The message was clear. "Something took your mother," Ryan whispered. "And she didn't come back." Lyra turned around and nodded slowly. Then she pointed toward the far mountains, dark, sharp, and silent like stone giants. "The same direction the villagers pointed earlier. She's there," Ryan said. "Somewhere in those mountains." Lyra stepped closer, grabbed his sleeve, and held on with both hands, as if begging him not to leave her behind. Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm not going anywhere without you." The girl exhaled shakily, relief mixed with fear. But then the wind shifted again. This time, the dust carried something else, a faint, strange sound. Not natural, not wind. It was like a distant echo, soft but wrong. Ryan turned sharply. Lyra froze. Her eyes widened. She pressed herself against Ryan's side. Something or someone was watching them. The mountains were waiting. And whatever lived there did not want Ryan to find Lyra's mother. He lifted Lyra again and held her close. Her tiny hands clutched. His shirt like claws. "Don't worry," Ryan said firmly. "I promise to help you, and I keep my promises." With that, he stepped into the valley's long shadow. The hunt for truth had begun. Ryan walked with Lyra toward the mountains, following a narrow path that twisted through old stone and dead trees. The air grew colder with every step. The sky darkened even though the sun had not yet set. It felt as if the mountains were pulling the light away. Lyra clung to Ryan's jacket. Her body shook not from cold, but from fear. She kept looking behind them, as if she believed someone was following. Each time the wind moved, she flinched. Every shadow made her breathe faster. Ryan noticed everything. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here." But Lyra's eyes did not relax. She pointed at the mountains again and shook her head, trying to warn him. "You don't want to go there?" Ryan asked. Lyra tapped her chest once, then drew a small circle on his hand. "You're scared," Ryan understood. "But we have to try. Your mother might still be there." Her small fingers tightened around his sleeve, but she nodded slowly. Even in fear, she was brave. As they climbed higher, Ryan saw an old settlement carved into the rock. Houses built from stone, paths shaped by hands long ago. The place looked abandoned, silent like a graveyard. But Ryan knew it wasn't empty. Too many signs suggested life: fresh footprints, faint smoke trails, broken metal tools on the ground. Lyra pointed toward a tall building built directly into the cliff. The entrance was shaped like a mouth, wide, dark, and cold. Inside, Ryan saw strange markings on the walls. Thin lines, spiral shapes, and symbols that looked almost like running water. "What is this place?" Ryan whispered. Lyra stepped forward and touched one symbol gently. Then she tapped her throat. Ryan understood immediately. "This is where the voices are taken." A sharp sound echoed from deep inside the cave, metal striking metal. Lyra jumped and pressed into Ryan's side. He held her close, scanning the shadows. A figure stepped out. Tall, gray skin, long narrow face, black eyes that did not blink, robes that glowed faintly like liquid moonlight. 3 more figures followed behind. The voice traders. One of them lifted a long staff decorated with crystals that hummed with soft sound, like distant whispers trapped inside. Lyra grabbed Ryan's arm hard. Her whole body shook. The leader of the voice traders looked down at Lyra, then at the broken crystal Ryan carried. "She is not supposed to have that," the leader said in a low voice that echoed unnaturally, like more than one voice speaking. At once, Ryan stepped protectively in front of Lyra. This crystal belonged to her mother. "You should not be here, human," another trader hissed. "Leave the child, leave the crystal, walk away." Lyra's fingers dug deeper into Ryan's sleeve. Her silent breath came fast and uneven. Ryan raised his chin. "I'm not leaving. A child alone, and I need answers." The leader tilted his head, observing Ryan like he was an insect crawling in the wrong place. "There are no answers for you," he said. "Only trouble." Ryan did not step back. "Where is her mother?" A long silence followed. One trader's eyes flicked toward a side hallway, barely noticeable. Lyra saw it, and she recognized it. She pulled on Ryan's sleeve and pointed. Traders reacted instantly. "Do not go there," the leader warned. Ryan's instinct screamed danger, but he didn't move away. That tells me exactly where I need to go. The leader slammed his staff into the ground. A wave of sound burst through the cave, shaking the stones. Lyra fell to her knees, covering her ears though no voice came from her throat. Her eyes filled with terror. Ryan pulled her up and shielded her with his body. "What kind of monsters are you?" Ryan demanded. The leader's expression never changed. "We are collectors. Voices are power. Voices are life. Voices are currency. And you steal them from mothers trying to save their children?" Ryan shouted. "We do not steal," the leader replied calmly. "We trade. Trade is fair." Ryan felt his anger burn hotter. "Fair? She's a child. A debt was made." The leader said. A voice was taken. "A life must be balanced." Those words chilled Ryan. A life must be balanced? Before he could ask more, Lyra tugged violently on his sleeve and pointed again at the hallway. Her eyes were begging him. She knew her mother was there. He could see it in her face. Ryan lifted her into his arms and ran. The traders shouted behind them. Footsteps followed. The air shook again with their strange sound magic. But Ryan did not stop. He raced down the narrow passage, Lyra holding tightly to his chest, eyes wide with hope and terror. At the end of the hall, behind a broken stone door, they found a small room lit by flickering blue crystals, and inside it, lying on the ground, breathing weakly, was a woman. Her skin was pale, her eyes half closed, her hands bound with glowing ropes. Lyra gasped silently. Her small body folded with emotion. She reached out, trembling. It was her mother. But Ryan knew instantly, if they didn't act fast, she would not live long, and the voice traders were already closing in. The room was small and cold, carved deep into the mountain stone. Blue crystals glowed faintly from the ceiling, lighting the space with a sad and sickly shine. Ryan placed Lyra down gently, and the child ran forward on shaking legs. Her silent scream filled the room, a cry without sound, a cry filled with fear and love and longing. She reached her mother lying on the hard ground. The woman's eyes opened slowly, heavy like rocks. When she saw Lyra, a weak tear rolled from the corner of her eye. Her lips moved. But just like her daughter, no sound came out. Ryan knelt beside them, his heart tightening at the sight. The mother was thin, too thin. Her cheeks had sunken, her skin dry like cracked sand. The glowing ropes around her wrists pulsed softly, as if feeding on her strength. He reached out and touched one of the ropes. It burned him instantly. Lyra's mother shook her head quickly, warning him not to try again. Ryan frowned. These ropes, they drain life. The mother blinked slowly. Her eyes agreed. Lyra held her mother's hand tightly and pressed her forehead against it. Her small shoulders shook as if she was crying silently. Ryan wished for the first time that she had a voice so she could scream out her pain, so she could call for help, so she could feel heard. But silence was all she had, and silence is sometimes the loudest. Suffering. Ryan showed the broken crystal that Lyra had given him. The mother's eyes widened with sudden recognition. She lifted her hand weakly and touched the crystal. It glowed faintly. A soft vibration traveled through the room, like a voice trying to return home. Then she touched her throat, then Lyra's throat, then the crystal. Ryan understood. This is part of your stolen voice. The mother nodded weakly. Ryan looked around the chamber. Crystals of different shapes were kept in small stone boxes. Each one glowed a different color. Each one carried a trapped voice, a child's cry, a mother's song, a father's warning, a lover's whisper. All silent, all stolen. Why would they take your voice? Ryan asked. The mother pointed at Lyra, then drew a circle in the air, then wiped that circle away with a weak hand. They promised water. Ryan whispered, understanding. In exchange for your voice. The mother nodded again. She traced more shapes in the air. Ryan watched carefully. Lyra, dying, no food, no water, no help from the villagers. So she took the only deal she could find. Her voice in exchange for life. She saved her child. But she paid too high a price. Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed from the hallway. Ryan stood up instantly. Lyra jumped back, holding her mother tightly. The voice traders were coming. Ryan looked at the glowing ropes again. We need to free her. Lyra shook her head, pointing frantically at the stone wall. She drew a shape, a long vertical line with a circle on top. Ryan stared at it. A key? Lyra nodded fast. Before Ryan could search, the mother reached up weakly and touched a loose stone near her head. She pushed it aside with the last bit of strength she had. Behind the stone was a small compartment. Inside it lay a thin metal rod, shaped exactly like the drawing Lyra made. Ryan grabbed it quickly. The hallway thundered with footsteps closer now, louder, angry. He inserted the thin rod into a small glowing lock on the ropes. It sparked. For a moment, Ryan feared it would explode. Then the ropes loosened. They fell to the ground like dead snakes. The mother gasped, as if breathing freely for the first time in days. Lyra hugged her tightly, her small arms shaking with relief. But they had no time. The door cracked open. The leader of the voice traders stepped inside with 3 guards. You should not have touched her, the leader hissed, his many-layered voice echoing in the room. She belongs to us now. Ryan stood between them and the mother. No, he said firmly. She belongs to her daughter. The leader raised his glowing staff. The trade was made. We cannot return what we take. A voice once captured cannot go back without balance. Balance? Ryan shouted. She traded a voice for water. And now, the leader said coldly, a life must match the voice. Ryan's heart froze. Lyra. The mother reached forward weakly, shaking her head violently. Her silent scream filled the room. She grabbed Lyra and tried to shield her, though she had no strength. Ryan stepped forward, fists clenched. You'll have to go through me. The guards moved closer. The staff glowed brighter. Lyra grabbed the broken voice crystal again. It started glowing stronger than before. The traders paused. What is happening? One whispered. The crystal pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyra held it tight against her mother's chest, and the entire room began to shake. The chamber trembled as if the mountain itself had awakened. Dust fell from the ceiling. Blue crystals flickered like dying stars. Ryan shielded Lyra and her mother while the voice traders stepped back in shock. The broken voice crystal in Lyra's hands glowed brighter and brighter. It pulsed with warm light, almost like a heartbeat trying to return to life. Lyra pressed it harder against her mother's chest. Her small hands shook, but she refused to let go. The mother gasped, silent but powerful. Her body arched slightly as if a force passed through her. Ryan could feel it too, a wave of energy that pushed the cold air away. The leader of the voice traders hissed angrily. Stop her! The voice must not awaken. 2 guards rushed forward. Ryan moved instantly. He threw himself between them and the mother, blocking their path. 1 guard tried to grab him, but Ryan slammed his elbow into the guard's jaw. The 2nd guard swung a glowing blade, but Ryan caught the weapon's handle and twisted it away with all his strength. Lyra watched with wide eyes, fear and hope mixing inside her small heart. The leader raised his staff. You cannot fight. U.S. all human. This voice is ours. Ryan stepped closer to shield Lyra and her mother. You don't own people. You don't own voices. The leader sneered. Voices are power. Voices feed the mountain. Voices keep peace. Ryan stared at him, furious. This is not peace. This is slavery. The crystal in Lyra's hands flashed suddenly bright enough to blind them all for a second. The mother lifted her hand, her fingers trembling, and placed them over Lyra's hands. Together, Mother and daughter held the crystal dot. It pulsed again. A soft sound, so soft it was almost nothing, escaped the crystal. A whisper. A breath. A broken part of a voice struggling to live. The traitors froze. "That is impossible," one whispered. "The voice is returning." The leader slammed his staff again, cracking the stone floor. "Stop them! Stop the voice!" Ryan knew they could not stay in this chamber any longer. They needed to escape. He grabbed the mother gently but firmly, lifting her into his arms. She was too weak to walk, but her eyes stayed fixed on Lyra, never leaving her child for a moment. "Lyra, stay close," Ryan said. That the girl nodded and held onto his jacket with one hand. The glowing crystal clutched in the other. The guards charged again. Ryan kicked the glowing blade across the room and sprinted toward the hallway. He could hear the leader's angry voice behind him. "Seal the exit. Do not let them escape." Ryan ran with all his strength, carrying the mother, guiding Lyra beside him. The mountain shook again as the voice traders used their sound magic. The walls vibrated. The ceiling cracked. Rocks fell behind them, smashing into the floor. Lyra jumped over each falling stone with quick, frightened steps. She looked back once, her eyes wide as the traders chased them. Ryan leaned close and whispered, "Don't look back. Just hold on." They reached a narrow passage. Ryan squeezed through with the mother in his arms. Lyra followed. The walls shook violently as the leader's staff blasted air toward them. Ryan felt a sudden wave of sound slam into his back. It was like a giant hand trying to throw him to the ground. He stumbled, but he did not fall. He held the mother tightly and pushed forward. Lyra grabbed his sleeve, pulling him, helping him keep balance. They reached the end of the hall, a small opening overlooking the steep outer cliff of the mountain. Wind rushed in, cold and sharp. "Down there," Ryan said, pointing to a lower path that led toward the valley. "If we reach it, they can't trap us." But the drop was high. Too high. Lyra looked at the edge, then at her mother, then at Ryan. Fear filled her eyes. Before Ryan could speak, a loud roar of sound burst behind them. The leader appeared at the doorway, his staff glowing with cruel power. "You cannot run," he declared. "The voice belongs here." Ryan looked at the cliff again. He had no choice. He tightened his grip on the mother. He lifted Lyra with his free arm. "Hold on to me," he whispered. The girl nodded quickly, wrapping her arms around his neck. The leader fired another blast of sound. Ryan jumped. The world spun. Wind screamed past them. Lyra buried her face in his shoulder. The mother clung weakly to his shirt. They hit a lower ledge hard. Ryan slid across rough rock, using his body to shield them. Pain shot through him, but he kept holding the mother and Lyra tightly. Above, the voice traders looked down in fury. Ryan pushed himself up slowly, breathing hard, shaking, determined. "We're not done yet," he whispered. Lyra squeezed his hand. The crystal she held glowed brighter than ever, and far above them, the mountain began to tremble again, as if something deep inside it had been awakened and was ready to rise. Ryan staggered to his feet, breathing heavily. His arms shook from the fall, but he did not let go of Lyra or her mother. The ledge beneath them was narrow and uneven. One wrong step could send them falling into the deep valley below. Lyra held the glowing crystal close to her chest. The light inside it pulsed softer now, like it was calming her. Her mother lay in Ryan's arms, weak and cold, but her eyes were open and filled with a mix of fear and hope. Above them, the voice traders stood lined across the cliff edge like dark ghosts. Their glowing robes fluttered in the wind. Their leader rose his staff, its crystal tip shining like a captured star. His voice echoed across the cliffs. "You cannot run, human. A voice taken must never return. Give us the child. The deal must be completed." Lyra clutched the crystal tighter and shook her head wildly. Her small body trembled, but her eyes glowed with fierce refusal. She hid behind Ryan's leg as if he were a wall between her and death. Ryan stepped forward, placing himself fully between the traitors and the two helpless figures behind him. "You will not touch them," he said. "Not the mother. Not the child." The leader tilted his head. "You fight against the balance of our world. You fight alone." Ryan breathed deeply. His chest burned. His legs felt heavy. But he stood tall. "I'm a human," he said slowly. "We don't abandon children. Not even on worlds that aren't ours." A heavy silence followed. Then the leader lowered his staff. "Very well. If you choose to stand alone, you will fall alone." He slammed the staff into the rock. A blast of sound, violent, sharp, deadly, shot downward like a blade. Ryan had only 1 second. He grabbed Lyra with his free arm and jumped sideways. The blast struck the ledge and shattered half of it. Stones fell, rolling into the dark valley below. Lyra screamed silently, her mouth open but no sound escaping. The mother tried to sit up, but she was too weak, so she grabbed Ryan's sleeve. With trembling fingers, the leader raised his staff again. This time, the blast was even stronger. Ryan shielded Lyra and the mother again. The sound wave hit him directly. His ears rang. His vision blurred. His knees buckled. Pain exploded in his ribs. He fell to one knee but kept the two safe in his arms. "Stay behind me," he whispered through clenched teeth. "No matter what." Lyra's small hands clung to him as if he was her last piece of the world. The voice traders spread out across the cliff, preparing another attack. Ryan knew he couldn't take many more hits. He needed a plan, but there was nowhere to run. Nowhere safe to hide. Only drops, cliffs, and the endless valley. Then Lyra tugged on his sleeve. He looked at her. Her eyes were glowing. Not with fear, but with the same warm light as the crystal. She pressed the glowing shard against her mother's chest. This time the pulse was stronger. Much stronger. A soft hum filled the air. Beautiful, gentle, like a lullaby sung in the wind. The mother arched slightly in Ryan's arms. Her fingers twitched. She pressed her palm to the crystal and closed her eyes. A faint sound escaped her lips. Not a word. Not yet. Just a breath with a tiny note hidden inside. Ryan's eyes widened. The leader of the traitors stepped back in shock. "No, this cannot be." A soft wave of energy spread around the mother. It reached Lyra, and her eyes widened with wonder as the warmth passed through her. The ledge beneath them glowed faintly. "What is happening?" Ryan whispered. The mother opened her eyes. They were brighter for a moment, weak, yes, but glowing with something ancient and deep. She mouthed a single word, one Ryan could read easily: "Protect." Then the crystal flashed brightly. A pulse exploded outward, not violent like the traitors' attacks, but gentle and powerful, like a heartbeat becoming real again. It wrapped around the three like a shield. The next blast from the leader's staff hit the shield and bounced away harmlessly. The voice traders gasped. "That is not possible." One shouted, "The voice cannot fight back." Another yelled, but it did. The shield pulsed again, each time growing stronger. Lyra took her mother's free hand and held it tightly. Ryan felt the energy surrounding them warm his skin, filling his tired muscles with strength. The leader shouted in fury, "Break the shield! Force the voice out!" But when the traitors attacked again, the shield absorbed everything. Ryan stood tall inside the glowing barrier. "You said I stand alone," he said loudly. He looked at Lyra, who held the crystal bravely. He looked at her mother, who stared at him with grateful eyes. "But I'm not alone." The shield flared. And for the first time, the mountain trembled, not in fear, but in warning, because the voice was awakening, and nothing could stop it anymore. The glow from the crystal filled the cliffside. It wrapped around Ryan, Lyra, and her mother, warm and strong. The voice traders froze. Their glowing robes flickered as if the light from the crystal burned them. and the staff in the leader's hand vibrated violently. Ryan held the mother tightly, and Lyra clutched the crystal to her chest. The energy pulsed in rhythm with their hearts, gentle but powerful. For the first time, the mother could feel her voice returning, not fully, but enough to make the bond with her child real again. The voice traders advanced slowly, anger and fear. In their eyes, the balance must be restored. The leader shouted. His voice cracked from the strain of the crystal's energy. Ryan stepped forward, standing on the edge of the cliff. His arms still held the mother. Lyra stood between them. Small but firm. "Balance is not yours to control," he said. "No one owns voices. No one owns children. You cannot take what love creates," the crystal flashed. Lyra pressed it harder against her mother. The mother gasped faintly, and then a soft musical note, escaped her lips. The sound wrapped around the crystal, vibrating through the cliff and across the valley. The traders staggered. Their power, once strong, weakened under the warmth and purity of a mother's love. Ryan could see their confidence breaking. He knew they had never faced such a force. The mother's voice strengthened. She pressed her hand over the crystal, then on Lyra's back. Slowly, the child's chest glowed faintly, warmth spreading through her tiny body. Ryan felt it too, like hope flowing directly into his arms. "You cannot," the leader whispered. "This is impossible," the crystal pulsed again. Then, in a sudden bright flash, it shattered. Light shot upward into the sky, scattering like thousands of tiny stars. The sound that escaped was not loud, but clear, a melody, broken and pure. The voices of countless people the traders had stolen over the years. Lyra's mother gasped audibly. It was weak but real. She could speak again. Her lips trembled, and a soft word fell. "Lyra." The child ran to her mother, hugging her tightly. Tears ran down both their faces. Ryan knelt beside them, overwhelmed with relief. He had saved them. He had survived. And he had witnessed something extraordinary. The power of love and courage. Stronger than any weapon. The voice traders stumbled backward, their robes dimming. Their power was gone, their voices scattered by the crystal's release. They fell to their knees, defeated. The leader's staff cracked and crumbled in his hands. He stared at Ryan, disbelief and fear etched in his face. "You cannot control life," he whispered. Ryan stood tall, breathing heavily, holding Lyra's mother's hand. "No," he said simply. "Life cannot be owned, and voices, they are meant to sing, not be trapped." Lyra looked up at him, eyes shining. She pointed at Ryan, then at her chest, then toward the sky. She didn't need words. She was saying what the crystal already told them all. Hope survives when humans stand for it. The mother's voice strengthened further. She hugged her daughter tightly, speaking softly now, words flowing after months of silence. "You are safe, my brave Lyra." The wind carried their voices across the mountains, and far below, the villagers watched in awe. For years they had feared the mountain, feared the voice traders, feared the silence. But now they heard song. Not the loud, harsh music of power, but the soft, pure music of love and life. Ryan held both mother and child as they began walking down the mountain path. The valley no longer seemed empty. The wind no longer carried only dust. It carried a new sound, freedom, hope, life returning to the world. Behind them, the voice traders had vanished. Their halls were silent, empty. The stolen voices had returned to the world, scattered to the winds. No one would ever hear them again as property, as tools, as weapons. They were alive once more. Lyra skipped lightly beside Ryan, holding her mother's hand. For the first time, she laughed softly, a quiet sound, but full of relief. Her mother laughed too, the sound shaky but true. And Ryan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He realized something. This world, harsh and cruel as it was, could still be changed. Humanity, even in a stranger from another world, could bring hope, life, and courage. That was their power. That was what no one could take. The mother looked up at Ryan. Her voice, now steady, spoke clearly. "You saved my daughter. You saved me. You saved us all." Ryan smiled. "No, we saved each other." And for a long moment, the three of them stood there on the edge of the cliff, looking out over the valley. The sun had set, but the stars above shone brightly. They glimmered as if they had witnessed the vow of a human and two alien lives, a vow to protect, to fight, to hope. And in that moment, the universe seemed to remember one simple truth. Humans, when brave, could change worlds. Lyra reached out, holding Ryan's hand with both of hers. The mother squeezed it from the other side. Together, they stepped forward toward a future no longer stolen, no longer silent, a future full of voices, full of hope. The crystal's glow faded, but its power remained in the mother's voice, in the child's laughter, and in the human heart that had dared to fight for both. And somewhere far away, the stars shimmered brighter, as if they had witnessed something extraordinary. The story was over, but its echoes would travel across the universe forever.